Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. Yeah, that's right, simple. You know it. Another flat day on the markets, but we did what was expected. We did gap down this morning. Good chance to take profits when the markets opened, or at least partial profits if you were short from yesterday, which I wish I would have been, but so be it. C'est la vie. And once we did open this morning, though, quick run up. The market obviously not interested in staying down all that long today. So it made a quick run up, and what I've done here is brought this into a 5-minute. Wanted to show you what we saw during the day. As we opened, I said to be watching the first, I don't know what I said, half hour to hour of the day, I think is what I usually say, because that's when it usually happens. For a move, we saw it right in the first half hour or so, where we moved straight back up again. And then it was total chop the rest of the day. So as I remarked yesterday in the video, watch for a move early in the day. Once that move is over, if things haven't happened or aren't happening much after the first hour or 2 hours, find something else to do, and that would have been a good chance today. There really wasn't much to follow after that. So once it made its initial move, it was sideways all day long. Notice how it held below the 10,550 mark, especially on the 5-minute. But if I drew in a line here, I could kind of make probably an ascending triangle out of this. And that would be a bullish formation, once again looking to maybe point us higher over the next day, which would make total sense, seeing as how we've got 1 day left in the month, 1 day left in the year before we start the new one. So be watching this tomorrow. I would expect if we don't see it even at the beginning of the day, we will see the volume start to just slowly kind of fall out of the market, similar to what we saw last week when people were getting ready for Christmas. Watch the volume be very, very light tomorrow. And what does lighter volume bring us? That's right, lower prices. Oh, I'm kidding. Higher prices. It's always brought us higher prices. So watch tomorrow for a drop in the volume and for a rise in the prices. Wouldn't see why we wouldn't maybe drift our way upwards ever so slightly into the end of the month. I would be surprised to see a major move tomorrow. Major move being that of maybe 80 to, I should say 100 points in the Dow, maybe 10 plus points in the S&P. If we see a move of that one direction or the other tomorrow, I'd be surprised. I would not expect to see that. I would expect to see a move maybe by the end of the day of 5 to 8 points, if that, in the markets with the volume kind of drawing up. However, I would, once again, I think the fear's out of the market. If you are long and are holding long overnight, I don't see any problem with that. With the end of the month coming and the volume probably pouring out tomorrow, probably not a bad choice. Here's the Dow now on a 60-minute. You can see what we saw today, just this chop action. I think that was better displayed on a 5-minute chart. That's why I wanted to start with that. Move on to a daily. You can see us just holding above this support area up here. I'm going to zoom that in for you so as you can see it. There we are. See how we're holding this 10,500 mark? What was the low today? 10,505. Gee, go figure. So 10,500 holding very nicely now as support. That is still bullish until it closes, breaks 10,500 and closes below 10,500. We're still in neutral to bullish mode on the Dow. Keeping in mind that the S&P and the NASDAQ screamed past its upper resistance. And the Dow is kind of the lagger, so it might still have a little bit more of a push up to go yet before it's done. 10,500, still the level to be watching, though. NASDAQ on a 60-minute, moving straight sideways as well today, finishing up 6 points when it was all said and done, but doing exactly what we saw in the other things, gapping down and then moving up the rest of the day. NASDAQ on a daily, kind of put it in some sideways action. Once again, what we're seeing here is a high base formation. That is bullish. Yes, it is. On a weekly, look how it's just a little tiny doji up here right now. Very curious to see how that finishes tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised to see that finish right where it's at here, maybe even up a little bit, making somewhat of a really small white candle on the weekly. SPX on a 60-minute, Starting down, moving up, right back into overhead resistance here at 1126.32, 1126.42. So closing right on basically the 60 or the 20 period moving average on the 60 minute. Break above that 1127.50 is probably another retest of 1130. Wouldn't see why that wouldn't happen, just based on the fact that we have a little bit of space here to retest that upper resistance. Now we have the gap down, quick move back up, so maybe we hang out and do what we did back in here a little ways, where we spend 3, 4, 5 days just kind of touching this overhead resistance. We broke this resistance after a long move sideways, and now we're moving right back up into it again. For those of you that were brave enough to take a little short up here at the 1130 mark, you have been able to play it, but only for about, maybe 4 or 5 points. I would say if you're in it short, why not hold? Make it prove it to you that it's going to break this upper resistance. So my stop would still be at 1132. If it gets to 1132 to 1135, I probably wouldn't want to be short at that point. So if you got in 1130, you're still in the money right here, and you have a very, very tight stop on that. SPX on a weekly, still hanging out at or above that overhead resistance. We'll see where that finishes tomorrow, but it could do the same thing that the NASDAQ would do. Look at the volume that we're seeing so far. Just little to nothing. Here are the weeks leading up to Christmas. Here's the week of Christmas. Here's the week of New Year's. As I mentioned, the last 2 weeks of the year are almost not even worth trading. Especially from the indices side. Now there are some stocks that are moving and some opportunities there, but from the indices side, there's no point. The volume's so light, and there's just very little movement going on in the markets. VIX on a daily, kind of falling back, gapping up, falling back down again. Why? Because there's no fear. There's no fear in the markets right now. Nobody's scared of anything that they see. And there's no reason to be. Why would we be? Look at the huge move we've had up in the markets. The sentiment is so bullish right now. Yes, that usually, is a precursor to a big fall. You're absolutely right. For those of you that followed along, here's the question: when? I mean, we've been talking about the VIX being low. We've been talking about bullish sentiment for weeks now. I see other newsletters talking about it over and over and over again. But it really boils down to this: the market is the market. When will the market change? That's why we follow the charts here. At thestockmentor.com, we follow the charts. We don't follow what our own opinions are, what our own biases are. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, this thing has to pull back. It's going to pull back. It has to. There's no way it can go straight up forever. That's not how the markets work. It's not even healthy to do that. But it's a matter of when. And I'm not going to be the first one to jump the gun and say, this is it, because that's when you get your hand slapped by the markets. So we'll let the charts tell us. And until that happens, we remain neutral to bullish, because that's what the charts are telling us. Apple on a 60-minute.